My name's Dave Stangis, and I manage corporate responsibility and sustainability for the Campbell Soup Company. I've been there almost 9 years now. It'll be 9 years Labor Day of this year coming up. I was hired as the first one of my kind at Campbell Soup Company to create a strategy and a set of metrics and goals and reporting and all of the internal governance that's required for a job like this. I spent 12 years before that at Intel Corporation, where I set up a similar function and ran it there for about 8 years. My background is more technical, environmental health and safety with a little bit of business, and it fits a kind of role of public affairs and corporate affairs sometimes at large organizations. I've been a member of the Executive Forum at the Center for Corporate Citizenship for probably more than 10 years now.
And I'm Kathryn Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Corporate Citizenship at Boston College, which is based in the Carroll School of Management. We are a department of the School of Management, and our purpose is to help companies really learn how to create effective corporate citizenship programs. I've worked for the last 20 years at the intersection of corporate relations and university research at Brown, at UMass, and now at Boston College. And I teach a course, Business and Society, in the MBA program at Boston College. I should start by saying that Boston College has been home to the Center for Corporate Citizenship in the Carroll School of Management for the past 32 years. So our purpose is to help companies know more, do more, and achieve more with their environmental, social, and governance investments. And the book is a natural outgrowth of that work. We wanted to help people in companies really have a roadmap for how to create effective corporate citizenship programs.
We've talked about writing a book like this for a while now and sharing the perspectives that we have from our different backgrounds. And we thought that this book would be a great way to basically short circuit a lot of the long learning curves that some of our colleagues have and some of the questions we've received on driving corporate citizenship and sustainability and corporate social responsibility. We thought the combination of our backgrounds could really turn into a handbook that almost any practitioner could put to work on day one, or an academic could even teach from, because it would fit a nice course set of 10 chapters delivering very specific questions and answers to let people get to work right away.
One of the things we see in the research, and we spend a lot of time in the research at the Center for Corporate Citizenship, is that companies that align their corporate citizenship programs with their strategy actually deliver not only more business value, but also more social value. They're more likely to be integrated in the strategy, so they're using their firm-specific know-how and their internal capabilities to deliver value in an arena that they understand. They're going to invest for longer, which means that they're going to be viewed as being more credible, not only by external stakeholders, but also by internal stakeholders. And they'll be better positioned for recruitment, being able to attract talent, which is very important in this economy. And they will actually be able to impact those causes that they care about most more effectively by staying in longer, understanding the problems more deeply, getting to know the players better. So there are multiple benefits and a huge virtuous cycle that's created by selecting the right topic, integrating it with your business strategy, and staying in for the long term. So selection, integration, and duration are three hallmarks we think of great programs.
The biggest gap that I've seen in working in this field for the last 15 to 20 years has been the disconnect between a great social impact idea or a great idea in the space of corporate citizenship and the core business strategy. I've talked to board of directors, I've talked to practitioners and felt their frustration, and CEOs, and for the last several years, decades now, these things have seemed to be a choice between one or the other. I can run my business and make the most money possible, or I can take a little bit of that profit or effort and focus on corporate citizenship or community programs or sustainability programs. And part of why we believe these things need to be connected is, number one, that's how you get things done. Number two, that's really the only way these programs stick. And that's really the way a practitioner or a CEO is going to drive change. Just focusing on something that's good to do is okay. It will get you a little bit, but it's never going to be connected to the business value. It's never going to drive the kind of value to your business and to society that we're looking for in this book. And that's one of the things that we wanted to start the book right up front with, making sure that everybody that's going down this path has found the sweet spot of connecting their business strategy with their corporate citizenship strategy and the ultimate goal they want to have in the marketplace and in society.
Corporate citizenship will always be important. It's, of course, more important now than ever because we have big pressing social issues and environmental issues that we're confronting. And we see a recognition of this among not only investors, but also among CEOs and business leaders. If you look at the Paris Agreement as a for example, even though the U.S. has opted not to endorse the Paris Agreement at this point, many leading companies are coming forward to reaffirm their commitment. And it's because they are operating in a global environment. In addition to their recognition of the problem, they're operating in a global environment where the societal expectations require them to step forward and take leadership. So I don't see corporate citizenship receding at all. If anything, I think there is a reaffirmation of commitment, a doubling down of commitment.
We debated this a little bit when we talked about what we were going to call the book, the title of the book. We talked about, is it a corporate citizenship book or is it a business book? And I was a strong believer that what we were describing in the book is not the secret, but is part of what makes a company successful for the long term. It's a part of the equation of business success for the 21st century. It has to be there. Companies that aren't putting this together, aren't building it into their strategy, aren't activating their employees, aren't working this into their consumer narrative, are losing value as a business in the 21st century. And the attention that companies are getting, the voices that consumers are bringing into the debate about what companies should be bringing to market to support their values is not going to decrease, it's going to increase. Technology is going to increase it, the digital world is going to increase it, and we think that all of these things are basically table stakes to get into play, and you can compete and differentiate in this space as a business in the 21st century. And I think it's just the competition around corporate citizenship done right is just going to continue to increase. When we wrote this book, we designed it specifically for practitioners. There are more and more professionals in large companies today that have been given the task to create a corporate citizenship strategy or a sustainability strategy or corporate responsibility strategy that don't always know where to start. They have some great ideas, they have a lot of personal passion, but they don't know how to accelerate some of those ideas into action inside the company. That's what this book was originally designed to target, was to take a look at a lot of the practitioners and some of the professionals that are in the companies that are members of the Center for Corporate Citizenship, really trying to help them accelerate their day-to-day jobs and make change inside the companies they live and work in.
I completely, of course, endorse and agree with what Dave said. And I think another audience for this book are the people in smaller companies. The Center for Corporate Citizenship has 430 plus member companies. Most of them are Fortune 1000 companies. But more and more we see that part of the competitive landscape is connecting to a social purpose that is beyond an industrial or a commercial purpose in what consumers expect from companies. And so for even small businesses, I think this book can help people think through what's the greater good. How are they creating not only the world that we want to do business in, but how are they creating the world in which we want to live? The key takeaways from our book are really about execution. Lots of people will have lots of different strategies and ways of creating both business and social value through the enterprises of their companies and by connecting to their company purpose. In terms of approaching this book, I think the key objective from my perspective was to really give people a roadmap so that they could think about a process through which they would be able to execute a great corporate citizenship strategy. So there isn't necessarily one key takeaway. It is a process-driven book that will help the person with a great idea for a social investment or for an environmental investment understand how they have the steps they have to take to execute from the very beginning to the end.
And I also agree. I've talked to some academics that have read the book. I've talked to some practitioners. I've even spoken with some consultants that have read the book, and they give me very similar feedback that a lot of the things that they've tried to translate to some of their business partners, to some of their colleagues, are in the book in terms of step by step, going through the book in terms of finding the hidden value inside of a company and leveraging corporate citizenship to unlock that value and drive change. So I think the takeaways are really for the person in the business or somebody outside looking at a business. How can you take a broad view of that business operation and find ways to unlock additional value everywhere from the human resources function to the marketing function to the market, to the execution in the community? There's ways that we found to help other people unlock the value in their businesses through the book.
I think one of the other takeaways from the book is a reminder that no company operates in a, how am I going to say
vacuum.
This? No company operates in a vacuum. You have to have a healthy environment, natural environment, to have a healthy society. You have to have a healthy society to have a healthy economy, and you have to have a healthy economy to have a going enterprise and as a company. So companies actually are part of a cycle, of an ecosystem, and they contribute both positive and negative outputs to those environments. And we want people in companies to think about how they do that and how they drive more value, how they deliver more positive impact than negative.
During the process of writing the book, I learned a ton because it's the first book and maybe the last book I'll ever write.
Well, no, it's not. We have a second book.
I consider them one thing. So I learned a lot going through the writing of the book, primarily translating thoughts and ideas that I had in my mind into, frankly, stories that let the reader connect and put themselves in the voice and in the context of the book. It's my style would be just to tell somebody what to do, but that doesn't work in a book like this. We basically have to kind of bring people in, set the context, and help them understand their own environment, and then let them operate in that. I think the biggest thing I learned was taking those very short directives that I had in my mind and trying to put them in a context, in a story that let the reader kind of live into it and translate it and help. I think there's a lot of discipline that I learned in writing the book, a lot of timelines, and I think it really helped to have a partnership. I don't know that I would have been able to write this kind of book on my own. I think it helped to bring the two backgrounds together, but also to bring the two disciplines together in driving the work product.
Yeah, I think that Dave made this point earlier, but there was definitely a positive synergy that happened as a result of having somebody who's in the practice, who's really in the trenches every day, who's built programs from the ground up in 3 different industries. And then my perspective is more interacting with a broader group of individuals who are in this work. So I have the benefit of looking at thousands of programs over dozens of years and really getting a very broad perspective on what the practice is, how it's evolving. Dave is very deep and has a deep perspective. So I think the two of those points of view really combine to bring a holistic perspective on how the work can be done most effectively. I hope readers will use the book to think carefully about what the purpose of their company is and how they can create not only more economic value, but more social and environmental value in the world. I think by doing that, we all benefit and we create a more prosperous future for all companies as well as all human beings and living creatures on the planet.
I hope people use the book as a workbook, frankly. I want the readers to work as they go through the book. We designed it to help them not be hard, not to create difficult work, but to actually force them through steps that are required, that are necessary to build a strong strategy, to build strong execution, to build a governance system, to build measures and metrics, to build reporting, and a feedback loop. And I'm hopeful that the practitioners, and the feedback I've gotten so far is that the readers of the book are using it that way, especially if they're in the field. And the feedback I've gotten from the academic or the consultant readers as well, it's really supplementing the things they've been trying to teach or the consulting they've been trying to do with leadership teams and other executives at large companies to really help them find the value in these programs. A lot of big companies have these programs, but the book, I think, I hope people use it to unlock added value to the business and to society from that book.
I think the highest compliment we've had is from a consultant who wrote a note saying that if the book had been published when he went into business, he would not have felt like he needed to go into business. So we want practitioners to actually use the book as a resource, to be supported by the book, to be great consumers of consulting if they have to use consultants, or to be able to execute on their own.
Right. As a follow-on to this book, we're getting ready to publish basically a companion edition designed for executives and leaders of companies to take a look at the same function. And it's subtitled, How to Win the Battle for Reputation and Impact. It's really trying to help take all of the things we put in this practitioner guide and boil it down to the key takeaways for executives, CEOs, boards of directors about how this function can best operate in their company.
Right. The two books are created to be companion pieces. So for the practitioner, you have, as Dave noted, the workbook so that they can be working through the problems and actually designing and executing a program. For the executives, we want them to be able to ask the questions that will indicate whether their teams are headed in the right direction, so that they are reasonably informed about the practice of corporate citizenship and so that they are thinking about how they can unlock value through their company's strategy and purpose.